Hello and welcome again to another gaming news special with myself, Amata. Today we've got some very nice news indeed. We have the Far Cry 3 PC hardware specs. As most of you have probably seen from the gameplay previews and screenshots, Far Cry 3 looks pretty much gorgeous, but it looks like you're going to need some pretty meaty specs on your PC in order to get it cranked up to max, which isn't exactly surprising. It would be surprising if it was the other way, to be honest. So let's have a look at the minimum specs, shall we? These specs are broken up by graphics card and also by recommended minimum and maximum, so there'll be information here for pretty much all of you, I would imagine. So let's jump straight in. For the minimum specs, we're looking at DirectX 9C graphics card with 512 megabytes of video RAM, dual-core CPU, and 4 gigs of memory. An example for NVIDIA or Intel of minimum would be NVIDIA GTX 8800 or Intel Core 2 Duo E6700. Or for AMD, that would be AMD Radeon HD 2900 or the AMD Athlon 64 X2 6000 Plus. Of course, those are just examples, but they will give you a fairly decent idea of what you will need to run this game at least at a decent FPS and to be able to run it at all, I would imagine. But now we move on to the recommended specs, which is obviously what it says on the tin, what they would recommend you have to get you at least a fairly decent experience. I'd say this is at middling range right here. For the recommended specs, we've got a DirectX 11 graphics card with 1024 megabytes of video RAM, quad-core CPU and 4 gigs of memory, so no change there in the memory or the CPU. But we have some more recommendations here for the recommended specs. NVIDIA/Intel would be NVIDIA GTX 480 or the Intel Core i3 530. Or for AMD, it would be AMD Radeon HD 5770 or the AMD Phenom 2 X2 565. But now, we move on to what I'm sure most of you really want to know, and that is the high performance specs. What you'll be expected to have in your machine to have it all looking awesome and shiny and stuff. So, the high performance specs. The latest DirectX 11 graphics card, latest quad-core CPU, and 8 gigs of memory. So a pretty significant leap in terms of the memory required on your machine there, so keep that in mind. And a couple example high-performance cards for NVIDIA/Intel would be the NVIDIA GTX 680, the Intel Core i7-2600K, and for AMD it would be the AMD Radeon HD 7970 or the AMD Bulldozer FX 4150. So, you're going to need some fairly nice hardware under your hood in order to run this game at max, but I'm sure most of you will have no problems at least running it at the recommended specs. Even the minimum specs for this are not exactly what you would call light, but that's kind of what you would expect for this game, to be quite honest. All the previews we've seen of this so far look pretty damn awesome in terms of graphical fidelity and all that good stuff. So hopefully that gives you some idea of whether or not you're going to be able to run this game at a decent setting or at all for when it comes out. So yeah, hopefully you found this video somewhat helpful. Thank you very much for watching. As always, please do leave any comments below and check out the channel if you haven't done so already. Anyway guys, thank you again for watching and I'll see you again next time.